Hi, welcome back to Literary Archaeology. Currently, Lola is trying to get up on the couch. She's refusing to use the steps. Stubborn, no idea where she gets that from. Oh, there she goes. Anyway, you know what's not a fairy tale? How much men love animals. We never talk about that because it's always like, oh, the women love the animals, etc. Disney princesses with the woodland creatures, everything. But honestly, all those little kitty videos and all those cute videos on YouTube and everywhere, you know why they're so popular? Because the men watch them. And you know what? I think I know why. And you might say, what does this have to do with literature or what have you? Because literature is filled with truth, even fiction. There's no such thing as fiction. You might say characters, but that's not fiction. It comes from truth that we all have innately. And with all the evil and degeneracy in the world, men are going to gravitate towards truth, goodness, and beauty, and innocence. Innocence like a little kitten. Innocence like Lola trying to get her treats on the couch. That helps feed their souls. And another thing I've noticed, and there are women too who are realizing all of this, but it's just different with the men. And I am not saying that men are better than women or what have you, but it's different with them. And I think it's time we notice it. Someone is like, okay, I need refills on the couch. I have them, but it's like, wait a second. Anyway, so when truth, goodness, and beauty and innocence is either hidden from you or taken from you, there's something about us as humans that we want to find our true north. We want to find, okay, wait a second, we're sort of lost. We're in the ocean and we're looking for that buoy to like cling to, right? And sort of accidentally, what I found is that even fairy tales by the Grimm brothers, and next we'll go into Hans Christian Andersen, and we can already tell Emperor's New Clothes. Come on, you guys. That is where we are in society. We were double masking. I mean, I wasn't, but people were double masking and taking experimental juice in their bodies, jabberoos. Because the emperor had no clothes and no one wanted to say it. No one wanted to say, hey, I have questions. You know what happened? But I have questions. Oh, how dare you? My gosh, I'm using that a lot today. Right? Because how dare you ask questions? The emperor is clearly wearing the finest clothes ever to be seen. And those of us out here going, dude is naked. Right? That's the Emperor's New Clothes from Hans Christian Andersen, who was inspired by the Grimm brothers. I've started to research Hans Christian Andersen a little bit because we're getting to the end of the Grimm brothers fairy tales. So while in some ways it sounds crazy to say, wow, you can find your true north in a fairy tale. You know why it sounds crazy? And I say this every single time, but it matters just in case this is your first time here. You know why people think that's crazy, that fairy tales could be so important and have so much truth? Because when they think fairy tales, what do they think? What do you think? You think Disney. You think Cinderella, Snow White, blah, blah, blah. That's not fairy tales. Oh no, that's not fairy tales. Why'd they make those? Did they make those because, oh, we want to entertain children? It's good. No. They made those fairy tales to hide these fairy tales. They took out the truth. They changed them just like they want to change us and society. If you are confused about what I'm saying, read 1984. There's no such thing as fiction. Because truth is in everything you read, everything you see. Even lies are very telling. So with that, That I better find my glasses. Oh, thank goodness there's a pause button. Okay, while I was going to get my glasses, I put some more pepperonis out there, but this couch is bouncier, so it was like playing one of those games at the fair. And so you might see Lola walking around over here getting the treats that didn't make it to the couch. Only one did, but anyways, I tried. But at the end of this video, stay tuned, because I'm going to call Charlie over here, our cat. Our cat, meaning my cat, your cat, all of our cats. And now, fairy tale. You guys, it has been a week. Yes, I have this circly lights on me right now. With my camera breaking, I don't know why, it just decided that it's not going to recognize the computer. And so, I don't know, I think I'm going to have to buy a new camera, which I was not expecting. So I'm going to call Sony tomorrow or Tuesday, whatever day, and try to figure out what's going on and if they can make it right. Do you think they will? Or do you think I'll talk to somebody in Malaysia that says, oh, I can help you with that one? My money's on the second one. So in that case, I will have to get a new camera. So that's why we have to make 2 extra videos over on Far From Eden next week. Hit like on this video, hype it up so we can get this channel monetized. That would be awesome. All right, ready? Faithful Ferdinand and unfaithful Ferdinand. All right. I can't wait. Once upon a time, there lived a man and a woman who didn't have any children while they were rich. Didn't have any children while they were rich. But when they became poor, they had a little boy. Since nobody was willing to stand as godfather for this child, the father said that he would go to the next village to see if he could find one. Along the way, he met a beggar who asked him where he was going. The father told him that he was going to see if he could find a godfather for his son, since nobody was willing to act as godfather in his village because he was so poor. Oh, said the beggar, you're poor and I'm poor, so I might as well be your godfather. But I'm so poor that I won't be able to give your child anything. Go home and tell the midwife to bring the child to the church. When they all arrived at the church, the beggar was already inside, and he named the child Faithful Ferdinand. As he was about to leave the church, the beggar said, go home now. I can't give you anything, and I don't want you to give me anything either. However, he gave the midwife a key and told her to give it to the father when she reached the house. He was to keep it until the boy became 14. At that time, the boy was to go out to the heath, where he would find a castle. The key would fit the castle door, and everything inside would belong to him. Isn't it interesting how important it was for them to find a godfather? In this day and age, I just want to juxtapose the two. Do we even religious, like, I don't remember the last time I heard anyone talk about godfather, whatever, or even what that means. Does it mean that this is what I remember, you're supposed to help guide the child in their spiritual journey? Does it mean if something happens to your parents, they then take you? The fact that I don't even know is it, well, it's rather disgusting to me. Look how important it was here. This is why they hide fairy tales, because they don't want you to think about that stuff. They want you to think about, I don't know, what's going on with like the Real Housewives or something stupid, or the football game. Whose team is doing this? Whose team is doing that? Whose quarterback is, injured? Those are the stories they want you to think about, not these stories. When the boy was 7 and had grown nice and strong, 7. In this day and age, we still call 22-year-olds kids. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're... Shut up. Shut up. He was 7 and he was nice and strong. Do you know how old Snow White actually was when she was lost in the forest and the huntsman was supposed to come and end her? She was 7. Weird. It's almost like back then, children were being raised to become actual adults, not just treated, oh, they're just kids. Stop it. Don't treat your kids like that. Treat your kids as adults in training. Don't tell them, I mean, I'm not saying expose them to horrible things, but you don't, protect them from growing up. You don't protect them from growing character. You don't protect them from learning coping skills, survival skills, etc. You don't excuse them for that. Why do parents do that? And a lot of times this is what mothers need to be instilling in them before they're 7, before they're 5. Because it's hard. It takes patience, it takes time. And I mean, if you're being a girl boss or you need to lunch with the ladies and get your nails done for the 5th time that week, who's going to be bothered? It's so much easier just to do it yourself and scroll on your phone and turn on something on the iPad for the child to watch and convince yourself, oh, it's educational. I don't know why I'm so fired up today, but I just am. This is important. And just people walking around don't understand. They don't get it. They don't understand how lost they are. It's because they got rid of our maps. That's why Jordan Peterson had that Maps of Meaning. And what was he exploring? Stories like this, but he didn't go far enough back, in my opinion. All right. So he was nice and strong. He went to play with some other boys. Their godfathers had given them all presents, one more wonderful than the next, but faithful Ferdinand had nothing to talk about. He burst into tears and ran home to his father. Didn't I get anything at all from my godfather? He asked. Oh, yes, said the father. You received a key. If there's a castle on the heath, you're to go there and open it. Okay, but he's only 7. He's supposed to be 14. So he went to the heath, but there was no sign of a castle. When 7 more years passed and he was 14, he went to the heath again, and this time a castle was standing there. When he opened it, there was only a horse inside. You guys know I like that. Okay, there's only a horse inside. A white horse, and the boy was so excited to have a horse that he mounted it and galloped home to his father. Now that I've got a white horse, he said, I'm going to travel about. Look how thankful he was. The other thing I think is like, isn't it more important? You can give your children presents. You can give them presents. You can be the godfather and be like, here you go. See, oh my goodness. Goodness me. I don't know what that was, but she did you wipe out? Anyways, you can give your child presents when they're young and they can be, oh, yay, right? Or you can give them a key for something when they're older that might mean a lot more as they go out in the world and have to face it. We're so busy, exactly what I actually just said. We're so busy, like, I want to give them a good childhood and a Christmas they deserve. And it's like, what are you actually giving your children? What does that mean further on? How meaningful is that going forward? Let's see how it goes. So he set out, and as he was riding along, he found a pen along the way. At first, he wanted to pick it up, but then he thought to himself, oh, you'd better leave it there. You're bound to find a pen where you're going. You're bound to find a pen where you're going if you need one. But just as he was about to ride away, a voice called out from behind him, faithful Ferdinand, take it with you. He looked around, but couldn't see anyone. Then he went back and picked it up. After he rode on for a while, he came to a sea, where he discovered a fish lying there on the shore and gasping for air. "Wait, my little fish," he said, "and I'll help you back into the water." He grabbed the fish by the tail and threw it back into the water. Then the fish stuck its head out of the sea and said, "Since you helped me out of the mud, I'm going to give you a flute. Whenever you're in trouble, just play it, and I'll come to your aid. And if you ever drop something into the water, just play it, and I'll get it out for you." Here we are with the music again. There's something about the music. There's something spiritual about music. I say it almost every episode. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I also see you guys are going to be like, "Oh, you just favor men. Well, there's something about men and music." I think of King David and the fact that he played music. There's something spiritual about it. The angels play music. The angels sing. By the way, in case you weren't sure, the angels are male. They're not these female, whatever, with wings. They are warriors. All right. Now faithful Ferdinand continued on his way, and he came across a man who asked him where he was going. "Just to the next town." "What's your name?" "Faithful Ferdinand." "What do you know about that?" We have almost the same name. I'm called Unfaithful Ferdinand." The two of them traveled to the next town together, but there was trouble ahead. Unfaithful Ferdinand knew everything that anyone thought and wanted to do. Oh. He knew all this because he practiced all kinds of black magic. What are we taught in today's society about magic? It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's fun. No, it isn't. It's real. It is real. So he practiced all kinds of black magic. Now at the inn where they decided to stay, there was a fine maiden who had an honest face and nice manners. She fell in love with faithful Ferdinand, for he was very handsome, and she asked him where he was going. He told her that he was just traveling about, and she said that he really should stay right there because the king of that country wanted to hire a servant or a forerunner, and he could work in the king's employ. He responded that he couldn't just go to someone out of the blue and offer his services. Then the maiden said, "Oh, I'll take care of that." She had an honest face and nice manners. All right. She went straight to the king and told him that she knew of a fine servant for him. The king was glad to hear this and had faithful Ferdinand summoned. When the king wanted to make him a servant, faithful Ferdinand asked to be a forerunner because he wanted to be with his horse. What was I just saying about men and animals? So the king made him a forerunner. When unfaithful Ferdinand learned about this, he said to the maiden, "What's going on? You can't just help him and forget about me." "Oh," said the maiden, "I'll help you too." And she thought, "I'd better keep on his good side, for he's not to be trusted." So she went to the king again and said that she had a servant for him, and the king was pleased. Now, whenever unfaithful Ferdinand dressed the king in the morning, his majesty would always complain, "Oh, if only my beloved could be here with me." Since unfaithful Ferdinand kept a grudge against faithful Ferdinand, and since he also kept hearing the king lament, he finally said, "You have the forerunner, don't you? Well, why don't you send him to find her? And if he doesn't bring her back, have him beheaded. Man, yeah, he's unfaithful. What a traitor. Faithful Ferdinand should not have trusted him so blindly. But he's a good man, and he wants to help people. I'm interested to see what this tale teaches us. All right. So the king summoned faithful Ferdinand and told him that his beloved was in such and such a place, and faithful Ferdinand was to bring her to him. And if he didn't succeed, he would have to die. Faithful Ferdinand went straight to his white horse, who was kept in the stable, and began to sigh and moan. Oh, what an unlucky person I am. Then he heard a voice behind him. Faithful Ferdinand, why are you crying? He turned around, and since he didn't see anyone near him, he continued to moan. Oh, my dear little white horse, I must leave you now. I'm going to my doom. Then he heard the voice again. Faithful Ferdinand. You guys. Oh, my life recently. We're good. We are good. All right. Hit like on this video if you're enjoying it. And if you want to help me get another camera, you can send this video out. All right, let us continue. Put a 1 in the chat if you've been with me since the beginning on my other channel when, you know, you got to know me and how real that's all it is when I say I'm not a real YouTuber. Anyways, I think this is where we were. Oh, what an unlucky person I am. Then he heard a voice behind him. Faithful Ferdinand, why are you crying? He turned around, and since he didn't see anyone near him, he continued to moan. Oh, my dear little horse, I must leave you now. I'm going to my doom. Then he heard the voice again. Faithful Ferdinand, why are you crying? Suddenly, he realized for the first time that it was his horse asking the question. It is you, my little white horse. Can you talk? And he continued, I've got to go to such and such a place and fetch the king's bride. Can you tell me how to do it? Go to the king, the white horse replied, and tell him that if he'll give you what you need, you'll get her, and you'll need a shipload of meat and a shipload of bread to succeed. There are huge giants in the sea, and if you don't bring them meat, they'll tear you to pieces. And there are huge birds who will peck your eyes out if you don't bring them bread. So the king ordered all the butchers in the land to slaughter animals and all the bakers to bake bread until the ships were loaded. When they were full, the white horse said to faithful Ferdinand, Now, I want you to climb up my back and go aboard the ship with me. When the giants come, you're to say, Easy does it, my dear giants. Don't think that I've forgotten you, for I've brought you meat to chew. And when the birds come, you're to say, Easy does it, my nice dear birds. Don't think that I have forgotten you, for I've brought you bread to chew. Then they won't do anything to you. And when you come to the castle, the giants will help you. Just take a few of them with you and go up into the castle, where you'll find the princess lying asleep. But you mustn't wake her. Have the giants pick her up with the bed and carry her to the ship. I love that the white horse is telling me this stuff. I grew up with an amazing white horse. There's really no white horses unless they're albino gray. And that's why we have this. It actually reminds me of Bosco. So in my head, the white horse is Bosco. I would never have become as confident as I am without that horse. Believe it or not, I didn't even really talk to people. Now I won't shut up. Thank you, Bosco. Okay. Then Everything happened the way the little white horse said it would. Faithful Ferdinand gave the giants and birds the meat and bread he had brought with him. In return, the giants willingly carried the princess in her bed to the king. When she arrived at the king's palace, she told him that she couldn't live without her private papers that were still in her castle. So faithful Ferdinand was summoned again. At the instigation of unfaithful Ferdinand, dang it, at the instigation of unfaithful Ferdinand, and the king commanded him to fetch the papers from the castle. Otherwise, he would have to die. Unfaithful Ferdinand. See what time it is. Oh, we're doing good. Okay. So faithful Ferdinand went out into the stable, where he began moaning and said, "Oh, my dear little white horse, I must go away again. What shall we do?" The white horse told him to have the ships fully loaded as before, and everything happened as it had the first time. The giants and the birds ate their fill of the meat and bread and were appeased. When they reached the castle, the horse told faithful Ferdinand to go into the princess's bedroom, where he would find the papers lying on the table. So he went in and got them. When they were on the sea again, he let his pen drop into the water, and at that the horse said, "Now I can't help you." But faithful Ferdinand remembered the flute, and he began to play. Soon the fish came with the pen in his mouth and gave it to him. Afterward, faithful Ferdinand brought the papers to the palace, where the wedding was then held. Let me just stop for a second and say, remember when there was a key, and when he was 14 and he was going to go to the heath, and then the castle was going to appear, blah, 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 but it was just a horse? Remember how grateful Ferdinand was for that horse? He didn't say, "Oh, it's just a horse. Oh, this is all I get." And he had to wait all the way till he was 14. He was poor all the way up until that. He had to watch all his friends have everything, and yet he waited. And then he had the horse, and he was so grateful. It's important to be grateful for what we have and to be patient when we don't have things. Patient and grateful. The queen, however, oh Lord have mercy. The queen, however, couldn't stand the king because he didn't have a nose. We have now began the mushroom trip portion of the fairy tale. This happens always. And I'm just letting you know if this is your first time here. Okay. He didn't have a nose. On the other hand, she loved faithful Ferdinand very much. Uh-oh. One day, when all the noblemen of the court were gathered together, the queen said she knew some tricks. She said, in fact, that she could cut off a head and put it back on, and she wanted a volunteer to demonstrate her skill. I will hold my thoughts until we find out exactly what's up with this woman. But if you've read any of the fairy tales, you know not to trust her. Nobody wanted to be first, but upon unfaithful Ferdinand's prompting, oh no, faithful Ferdinand felt obliged to volunteer. The queen, the queen cut off his head and put it back on again, and it healed immediately. Oh, thank God. Only a red thread appeared around his neck where she had cut him. "My child," the king said to her, "where did you learn that?" "Oh," she replied, "shall I try it on you too?" "Oh, yes," he said. Then the queen cut off his head, but didn't put it back on again. Rather, she pretended she couldn't get it on because it wouldn't stick properly. So the king was buried, and she married faithful Ferdinand. What happened to the maiden with the honest face? Didn't faithful Ferdinand, did he feel obliged? What is up with this? What is up with this? Afterward, faithful Ferdinand continued to ride his white horse, and once he got on it, the horse told him to head for another heath he knew and to gallop around it 3 times. When faithful Ferdinand did this, the white horse stood up on its hind legs and turned into a prince. That's the end. Okay, hold on. So he married this queen who was a nasty murderer. He's not faithful. He wasn't faithful, because what happened to the maiden with the honest face? I guess she was not ever meant for him. And he marries this queen. Okay, I have to glance over this last little bit. I think you guys want to as well. Okay, so she did this cutting head off. She managed to murder her husband. And then he was buried. She pretended she couldn't. So the king was buried, and she married faithful Ferdinand. Afterward, faithful Ferdinand continued to ride his white horse. Okay. And once, when he got on it, the horse told him to head for another heath he knew and to gallop around it 3 times. When faithful Ferdinand did this, the white horse stood up on its hind legs and turned into a prince. So did he was he faithful to the white horse, and therefore the white horse was freed from some curse? And what happened to unfaithful Ferdinand? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? He accomplished everything. He never said no to a challenge. He was grateful. He was faithful to that white horse. And the white horse helped him along the way, and he helped the white horse because obviously he was actually a prince. I don't like that he ended up marrying a murderess, and she had no consequences. And sometimes in these fairy tales, they're not telling us a moral of the story, and not everything works out. That's the thing, is my brain was looking for it tied neatly in a bow. Why? Why was I like, how can that be the end? Because fairy tales are true. And sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. And sometimes bad people do not face justice, like this queen. And if I was reading this to children, I would say, was that good? No. Did anything happen to her? No. Is that right? No. When will it happen? When will the queen face justice for this? When will unfaithful Ferdinand face justice for all of this? Not here in this life. And that is something that we're not taught these days. The stories that we are told, movies, television, all that kind of stuff, somehow we think that good things should happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people, but we know that's not true. And dealing with that reality is a big part of growing up. And so while at the end of this story, I was completely confused. You guys watched it. I don't read these ahead of time. You saw me like, wait, what? I had to reread the end of it to confirm that I didn't miss something. And stories are not about real stories that teach us truth. are not about, oh, bad people face their consequences and good people get all their rewards. Ferdinand never got the castle with everything in it that the Godfather said. He didn't wait till he was 14. He got the privilege of working for someone. So you sometimes don't get all that was promised. You sometimes are going to be poor, even if you're faithful, Ferdinand. Life isn't fair. But you do the best with what you have. And you have good character regardless. And you're good to people who are not good to you. If I was reading this to children, these are the things I would say. But they'd also be learning that there are just some people out there that do not care and will cut your head off. And sometimes they just go through the rest of their lives and it's hunky-dory. But God said, vengeance is mine. Didn't he? He did. Does that mean we shouldn't have justice in this life? No, we should. But does that mean it always works out that way? No, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes when we're reading a story, we think we're learning what the story is and who the characters are, but in reality, we're learning about ourselves. What we know, what we don't know, what lies we've been fed, and what we expect. To start asking ourselves, why do we expect that? How do we know what we know? And that's the brilliance of these stories. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. That's a thinker, you know. It's always mind-blowing. It's always mind-blowing. Anyway, it gets me in a bit of a daze. So I hope that fed your soul as it did mine. Remember to always protect your peace in this world, in this horrible, sinful, degenerate world. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Oops, hold on. Hold on 1 second. I forgot. Hold on. Let me call the kitty cat. Well, Lola was way too interested in that. And then Charlie said, come here, Charlie. Charlie. And Charlie was like, I don't feel good here. Come here, Charlie. Charlie. Anyways, there's a picture of him over on Locals. And let me try again. So close. So close. I know. I shouldn't pressure him, but he's doing good. He can hang out around Lola, but he's still like, I'm not sure. He came back over here to say hi to me. He's like, I'm sorry. It's okay. But I can't wait for you guys to meet him. I can't wait for him to be part of the channel and stuff because I know how much you guys love animals. But anyway, if you want to see a picture of him, it's over on Locals. I can't remember if I shared it on our Facebook page. Maybe. I can't remember, you guys. This week has been crazy. Anyways, feed your souls. Protect your peace. I love you guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.